Hi guys, welcome back. Today I broke a pencil lead, so guess what? I'm just going to use it to make a little background in my art journal. Just totally intuitive, making marks, darkness, lightness, and spreading it around with my finger. All right, next I'm going to add a little bit of color, and I have acrylic paint here that has been thinned down, so it makes it somewhat of a wash. And I've chosen some yellow green to start, and you can see how the paint kind of makes the pencil bleed a little bit, which I like that. This is just a totally intuitive background. Here's some hot pink and a little bit darker burgundy. And I'm just having fun here. Now you might notice I have a little bit of wax paper behind this page because in the art journal, if you don't do that, you're going to have all your pages stick together. So make sure you have something to separate. Now I'm just adding a little bit of white, titanium white, to some of the paint to lighten up this background in spots. As you can see, I'm adding in some neutrals with that gray tone because you just don't want to have color everywhere. You want to have some places for the eye to rest. And now I've had this beautiful blue color just to add in some places. It's completely random at this point. Just having fun with it. And while it's wet, if you want to lift some of that paint up, you can with a paper towel, which I'm doing here. And now I'm just going to repeat this process with some titanium white mixed with the various colors and watered down to give the background a little bit more interest. As you can see, I'm adding some marks with this thinner brush. And again, no plan. Now at this point, I decide to add some circles, and I think I'm going to make some more dream catchers. So you can see I'm lightly sketching in some circles, and then I will add some web-like patterns in the center of the Dreamcatchers very lightly with the colored pencils. If you watched the paint along from last week, my Dreamcatcher was flowing in the wind with the feathers streaming out to the right. But this one is a little bit more relaxed, and I have several dream catchers as opposed to one. We're going to have these dream catchers just kind of hanging. And here I'm kind of sketching in my dream catchers with some white paint. Notice they're all different sizes, different shapes, and I kind of have some of them behind others, and it just gives your eye a little bit more interest. And these aren't perfect, you know, it's your art journal, so it's a practice. Lightly sketching in the strands hanging down from each dream catcher with the white tempera, or the white titanium white. And now it's time to add some beads around our dream catchers. Just roughly painting these in. They're not perfectly circular. Trying to space them evenly. And I'll do this with all the dream catchers in various colors. If you're painting this at home, just remember you can use whatever color you want. Now I am speeding up the process, but as you can tell, I've added many layers and different colors with the beads all around the dream catchers. And now I'm going to add some to the strings hanging down. Okay, now it's time to add some feathers. So I'm just very loosely placing some white marks where I want the feathers to go. And at this point, I don't know if I'm going to make the feathers a particular color, but just very loosely, you know, painting those in. And as I look at it, I kind of like the light feathers. All right, I'm going to go over this with another layer of white to add some definition. So underneath it's a little darker, and then the more you layer on top, you give your feathers a three-dimensional look. And I am using a flat angled brush for the feathers. I think it works really well. Okay, now I'm using a round, smaller brush to add even more details to my feathers. Again, getting a little bit lighter with each layer, just to give the feathers some definition. Okay, here I want to add some lightness, and if you think about the light, as you can see in this particular painting, I'm going to assume the light is coming from the right, so I will add these white lines, and they're not perfectly straight, on the right hand side of the Dreamcatchers. Doing the same for the webs of the Dreamcatchers. I will do the white on the outer side of the circle and on the right, and the inner side of the circle on the left. As you can see, just by adding this white to mimic the light reflecting the Dreamcatchers, you already can see some definition and some dimension to all of the Dreamcatchers. Okay, now on the opposite side of the Dreamcatchers, I'm adding a little bit of darkness. Again, remember the light is coming from the right, so these are my shadows. And same with the strings hanging down from the Dreamcatchers. You're going to go on the opposite side of the white just to create that shadow. And look how much dimension this gives all of the Dreamcatchers. Okay, at this point I am adding the centers of the Dreamcatchers, and I'm just making some webs to follow the shape of each Dreamcatcher. As you can see, the oblong one, just go to the point, the center point, and just add your lines going out to the outside of the Dreamcatcher. And I use different colors. Remember, again, you want to keep in mind your shadow and your lightness. So as I fill these in, you'll note that I do add some highlights and some shadows to give these a little bit of depth and interest as well. So I decided they couldn't just be floating in the air, so I made some strings from the tops of the Dreamcatchers to hold them to whatever they're stabilized with. And just like I did with the other strings, I'm going to add some lightness and shadows on these strings on the top, just to give additional definition. All right, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe.